Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Raise2Launch podcast, where we talk about all the things you need to think about as you are building, getting ready to raise and launch your startup. I have with me today Alberto Mujica, who is a pseudo regular on our podcast. Tomas, unfortunately, can't make it today, but we have a guest here today, Marlon Avery, who is an AI thinker and speaker and founder. I think somebody who can speak with some authority because every single person who might be listening to this podcast needs to be thinking about AI in the tail end here of 2023 and 2024 and beyond. And think about what it is that you're doing to make sure as you build, you are ready for the AI enabled future. Marlon, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, cool. So, we're going to talk about a few things here today. We're going to talk about, I think, uh, my opinion is if you're building a pure AI startup, unless you're very well funded, don't. But think about how to make sure you've got AI in your startup. We're going to talk about beyond just like your software, how do you as a founder get better with using AI to drive your startup? We're going to talk about how AI unlocks human potential. And finally, if you've got an AI expert on the show, you've got to ask them what AI is going to be doing in 2024. I think that makes a good thing to really grill Marlon. I have my own opinions here. I don't think I've gone full tinfoil hat /r/ singularity, but I definitely think there is some stuff coming in the future. I think a good way to start this out, though, Marlon, is give us like the 5 sentence tour of you and why people should listen to you about AI.
Yeah, definitely. Software engineer. Taught myself how to code quite some time ago. I've worked at companies like Uber. Switched over to ed tech companies like Udacity, Treehouse, where we're kind of training individuals how to code and stuff and learn how to code in 8 to 10 months, and then placing them into roles and stuff afterwards. My kind of journey started in AI. I worked at a venture capital firm. So it's the largest minority owned venture capital firm based out of the Midwest. And from there, they have a nonprofit extension to it. We just got access to OpenAI. This is kind of like GPT-2. And so leadership came to me and said, hey, these grants and stuff that we were writing are taking quite some time. Can you figure out a way how to help us speed this process up? And so eventually what we ended up building was the first AI grant writer. This is probably about three and a half years ago and stuff now with GPT-2. And then from there, just kind of start to like dive into it, everything from solution based architecture around artificial intelligence, everything to generative AI, and and right now I am teaching and also to consulting companies how to integrate it and build on top of.
Awesome. So back in GPT-2 days, that is, I imagine grant writing software is substantially better now with the new GPT-4 turbo models that are out, where I've seen some truly
Yeah,
impressive output.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, pretty much nobody was working with it except Marlon.
Yeah, back then. I mean, you could compose like limericks. That was the main utility I knew of for GPT-2 is bad limericks. So, all right, so awesome. Okay, as I talk to founders every day. I'm doing a judging competition tomorrow for Founder Institute. Rather, I am judging a competition, and I have increasingly been telling people, look, don't build a product where you're either just a wrapper for OpenAI or where you're directly competing with the OpenAIs and the Automatic of the world. But there's a whole host of things you can do other than that in your product and think about AI. Give me some ideas. What are you thinking about, Marlon? That is, uh, if someone's building a product of some kind, right? Think about what you can do other than the obvious. Let me put a chatbot on top of my docs. Let me use AI to help write my sales emails. Like, what else are you telling people you see that's interesting they can build?
Yeah, I think two things. As I'm consulting, I'm telling people still to remain task minded and not project minded and stuff. And so you're looking for solutions and how AI can help you. So, for example, what you just said, a task is like help me write an email or anything, kind of read over some of our docs and things like that. Project is obviously kind of multiple tasks, but we're kind of not at the place yet where kind of AI can take over an entire department. And so, but with that, everything as of like last Monday, I thought we're in an era right now of like narrow AI. We're vastly approaching general AI. I thought general AI was quite some time away. Boy, was I wrong. And so, with OpenAI, with the announcement of Dev Day last week, I've been saying now for a few months is that we're building to an area in a place where everybody's going to have an assistant to help them do X and everything. So now on the business side, they can be everything from helping you, help you run the apartment, from email management to helping source your, inventory. On the personal side, it can be helping you for your next date night, finding restaurants and things like that. Um, with the AI assistant API and the GPT store, this has advanced everything and so exciting. I actually had a workshop the very next day where I stayed up all night redoing my slides and stuff because I was going to go through, talking about RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, and so. But now this is kind of where we're approaching. And so now with the Assistance API, the ability for an individual, institution, or organization now to have an assistant, multiple assistants, and everything for your department changes everything. So for example, if you have a sales department and everything, and you need you need an AI assistant to help you, write your emails, follow up on emails, also to help your internal salesmen and everything, help them access information quicker. Also helping them make sure they have the right information. Everything from creating documentation and everything. Maybe they need to hurry up and write a quick proposal to send it to a potential client. All this gets fast tracked now with the AI systems, open AI systems API. And so this right now is like kind of putting us on the speed train to general AI, and it's going to be very, very exciting.
Awesome. So you do think an AGI is rapidly approaching?
I'm not sure if the term is going to be AGI. I think, this is interesting. This is a beautiful question. I think a couple months ago, a couple years ago, we was very much focusing on like Web3,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And so the Web3 is kind of giving, the ownership of, finances, data, and everything kind of back to the consumer and everything. And I think that's somewhat, still kind of like looking forward to what we can potentially get to. I think consumer very much understood very quickly is that maybe not Web3, maybe Web 2.5, everything. And so, basically the ability to kind of merge with some of the large infrastructure, such as banks and things like that. From my point of view, this could be AGI, this could be Web3. I think we're now focusing on the scaling of information, aka intelligence. And I think that is kind of just going to be like the definition of AGI. I do believe we'll get to a place where AI will have a deeper knowledge base of everything, more than some humans, but that doesn't mean it replaces us, takes it out, wipe us out, and everything. They just mean we have access and ability to even do anything from prompt to scaling, you know, um, intelligence. And so with that, I think this is kind of puts us on a fast track of if it is AGI, if it is, Web3, if it is just like an AI centric universe, this definitely puts us on a fast track of such.
Gotcha. I think of it a bit like the self-driving car problem, where
Which one?
we've been 10%, we've been 90% of the way there for 30 years. Uh, and every time we think we're cracking it, we go, oh, it's a little harder than we thought. I think an AGI, I think we'll be 95% of the way there for at least the next 2 years, maybe even 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll suddenly discover, oh, part of it, of course, what is intelligence? It's hard to judge, right? But I
Sure.
think AGI with I'm able to have it solve an unbounded problem for me through application of novel thought. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're still a bit of a ways away from there.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean AI is not solving real problems right now. Like I use it. When we were talking in the pre-show about this, I think a couple weeks ago I spent a lot of time, like maybe 8 hours in one day, tinkering around with OpenAI's API. But usually in a given day, I'm probably doing 20 to 40 minutes of work in AI, but that saves me 2 to 4 hours of time spent drafting. So,
For sure.
and I mean, I'm not hardly the most involved there, but I think for any founder, there are ways you can use OpenAI either through API, through a bubble app, or just directly through chat.openai. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
ways you can make your life faster and better with it. I have a couple that I like, but I'm curious, Marlon, when you're talking to somebody right runs a small company, you're a consultant obviously in this space. What are some easy value unlocks you say if you're not doing this with AI and with some automations you probably should be?
Yeah, I think it's for most of the individuals I talk to, who are founders are non-technical. And so, definitely, speaking their language and everything, but also to recognizing the power that we do have with tools like Make.com, Zapier. And I think doing the demo, they showed a powerful aspect of where, you're connecting your Zapier to Google Calendar that can read your calendar invitation that also too can communicate back to your Slack that, hey, I'm running late for this meeting, and things like that. And so, um, those type of tools and stuff are very much becoming even more powerful than they were before. When you do it with a combination of generative AI, and on top of that too, now we still have the ability to kind of like giving access to long term memory, like Pinecone, and stuff. And so the combination of these tools can just really, 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 build some just life changing things. And so this is gonna be funny kind of for Alberto because it's been so busy. One of the first assistants that I built and everything, I just kind of found some of Alberto's like previous blogs and just information on his website and everything. Kind of doing this before the AI European Act gets here. But I created an Alberto AI assistant, and everything, and then didn't share it out publicly. But I just want to kind of see what it work and how it do. And so for the people that don't know, you can give your assistant, code interpretation, retrieval, documents or things like that. Um, and then you can also to kind of create functions with it. This kind of gives you access to have your AI assistant can communicate via API to one platform to another. Um, and so with that, I just kind of want to see how it works and everything. Now, this gives me ability and everything with Alberto's permission or even subscribing to Alberto's AI. If I receive a copyright infringement email at 3 a.m., now I'm freaking out as a founder because this could be detrimental to my business and everything. I would just ask Alberto's AI assistant, kind of like, how serious this is, what should I do, and everything, until I can get access to the real human being, at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and so whenever he's available. And so, these are the type of things kind of like where we're advancing towards.
Gotcha. I have a little automation I built with Zapier that connects to my LinkedIn account. And every time somebody sends me an email with the words PMP certification, um, offshore developer, or graphic designer, I have it feed the message over to OpenAI, where I've got a set of instructions where ChatGPT criticizes the copywriting of this message and then sends it back to them with the link to buy my book.
Mm.
And I make about as much money as it costs me every month for my entire OpenAI server bill. So like $15 a month. I'm not talking big money here. I sell 2 to 3 copies of the book, right? 15 to
Automation.
$25. But
Yeah.
automatic, because I get like 2 or 3 a day, right? And
Right.
so I basically take their message, criticize the copywriting, explain why it won't work and why they should test their messaging instead. Go buy my book. So like that's one of my little. I make money with spam. I'm the only person I know who does. Not spending it, but receiving it.
That's awesome.
That's probably my favorite because it's good for a laugh. Automation. I also have for a lot of the work my team does as copywriters. We I mean I run a marketing agency. A lot of people I talk to, I don't know their industry, and so what we will do is we will instruct GPT-4. You are now this person. I'm going to interview you about the problems, the pains, the issues you may have around the space that this client solves to get customer facing language versions of what it is these features do for people. And so, as a marketer, that's something I recommend. I actually teach this in my course, is how you use OpenAI as the proxy for your audience, where you can go talk to them. And, again, 3 in the morning, you're like, I have an idea. This is the next campaign. I don't have to go find 5 people who are in my audience and find a way to survey them. I can just ask OpenAI. And is it perfect? Of course not. But it is the average of the internet. So when you tell it behave this way, it'll give you kind of the average of what it's identified as those people are like.
So what's interesting too about what you just said there is the assistance is nothing but a wrapper of GPT-4. Now we thought a couple months ago prompt engineering was like the next big thing, everything. And now, even with this small shift and everything, you don't need as much kind of like the focus area of prompt engineering. Now you put it in a wrapper, the legal aspect, and now Alberto, gives it like his some of his previous, papers, research, cases, and everything. Now has the ability to focus stuff even more.
Yeah.
Essentially, what 90 days ago we were saying like, hey, we got to get very, very focused on prompt engineering.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's going away, but it now has advanced, and this is like the beautiful space and stuff we're in. We're in that every 90 days this thing is changing.
It is. It's insane. I did put my book into GPT-4 and said, "All right, this is Trevor's brain, effectively, about how to launch a product," and then I asked it answer these questions. I still find that ChatGPT doesn't do a good job of sounding like me when I write. ChatGPT always, or GPT-4 generally writes long, and I write very short sentences by and large. I try and write for a fifth or sixth grade level of reading, even though I don't
Mm-hmm.
talk for a fifth or sixth grade level of talking.
To give credit to GPT, you are very particular about how you speak. So
I am a pain in the butt. That is completely true. Uh, every copywriter I've ever worked with has, when they're done working with me, they're better writers, but they haven't enjoyed the experience. So that's fair. All right, I
Yeah.
think that's a good. So yeah, being able to do things like automate away with simple tools, right? Just with Zapier and then your OpenAI API, automate away replies to obvious bogus emails, right? Or to say, hey, uh, I'm late
I
for,
mean,
and then
emails in general too.
yeah, emails in general.
Mm-hmm.
You can, the thing you used to hire a VA for $8 an hour, and part of his or her workload was to screen your emails and only pass on the interesting ones. Like
Right.
that, it's really accurate
Yeah.
to have OpenAI
Mm.
do this, at least as good as someone who you're paying $8 an hour, right?
Right.
To say, hey, this is a cold email, I don't want it, go away. That is another real, and way, I mean, $20 a month, way cheaper than $8 an hour.
And you go back to human experience. So if I have an assistant and stuff myself, and I built this application one I'm about to tell you about, human experience. If I have like a real human being assistant, if I want my assistant, to kind of take over this email, respond, whatever, all thing I would do is forward it to them. So I built an AI email assistant. I created a free Gmail account and everything for my AI assistant and everything. So every email that I get that I want them to respond to, I just forward it to the free Gmail. I'm sorry, the AI, my AI email assistant. What it does from there, it reads it from text or HTML, drafts a response, and then sends their response back to me, and I can just send it off and everything from there.
Gotcha.
And everything. So the also too now with retrieval aspect, now I can put in. So the also too now with retrieval aspect, now I can put in past data, sales information, uh, podcast availability, dates, and everything.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to the place where it can kind of do more restaurant recommendations.
Yeah.
My top 5 restaurants and everything. The new movie stuff I'm looking to kind of put a date on thing on my calendar for movie night. For movie date. And I mean, this is about to get very, very
It
interesting.
is, and I do like. I've been running Auto GPT off my
Mm-hmm.
desktop for a while, and with GPT-4's new
Local.
functionality, yeah, local. Um,
Mm-hmm.
with GPT-4's functionality now, it's like there's no point bothering anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because all the things I wanted for it, which is persistence of memory, which is searching the internet, like all these things, it's gone. It's done. And it is
Right.
interesting to see OpenAI looking out there, seeing what everyone's doing that catches on, and then going, "We're building that too."
Yeah. Yeah.
which
I
Yeah.
brings me
I mean.
to something that when I was at Startup Grind, a lot of the conversation was, well, obviously with GPT-4 coming out and everybody jumping on um, on GPT, the question is, which one of these apps that are being developed are the ones that GPT-5 won't already solve for?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because GPT-5 will solve the vast majority of the little apps that are being developed right now. Um, and the question is, which ones, which ideas, which things can we focus on or invest in that GPT-5 won't solve? Right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think we're in an area where I like to call it is the AI Wild Wild West.
Right.
This is also this is also too why I don't recommend tools I don't recommend specific AI tools. One tool can be here today and gone tomorrow, especially for a small business. They can be detrimental. Thing for they just put in a lot of information. It's working. It's beautiful. Next day they're gone. They ran out of money. They got acquired and stuff like who knows. Um, this is an interesting question I've even asked my mentor because of like where we are now. I predicted a few months ago. I even built a solution and everything very, very similar and everything. And I pull this up here on my phone. I even built a solution that's very, very similar to that, where basically it was a UI interface and everything on the back end of GPT-4 that will do a retrieval aspect of your information. So if you gave it PDFs, notes, YouTube transcripts, whatever, if you ask it a question, okay, prompt it, it will go through your information first as a catalyst and everything, and then any fulfiller information that it needed based off the information, then it will use GPT-4. That was months ago I built that. Here we are today. Everything. So if I built it into a entire startup and everything,
You'd be screwed.
I would either have to pivot or close the doors.
Yeah.
The answer to your question is, we don't know. We don't know and everything. But this is also too the world in that you live in entrepreneurial society, where one change of a big company can change everything. Nobody predicted that Amazon was going to start selling products for everything that you need in the household. Nobody predicted that Walmart was going to start to kind of do white label so a lot of the products, and even for the competitors or even partners and stuff at the time. Everything. This is kind of you just kind of like be in it, be resilient, everything, have some type of a tough skin, because you're either going to, if you're building something that really works and is for the consumer needs, everything as a startup, be prepared in the next 2 years to rebuild that entire backend at least 3 times. You're going to start over at least 3 times.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so you're going to gripe about it like, oh man, this is hard. This is kind of the area and stuff we're in. But the people who figure out is going to be the next people, the next individuals and everything who is top of the chain.
So let me ask you, kind of adjacent to what Alberto was asking about, have you seen about the Humane AI pin?
Yeah. Actually, wait, is that the pin?
It's the pin, yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
I'm super
think?
excited. This is what Google was trying to do
With
with Google,
the Google Glass? Yeah.
Google Glass and everything. Um, Google, Google is one of those companies where they're, unfortunately, this is my opinion, so whatever, I don't want to get in my trouble. Google's always first to research, last to consumer. The first self-driving car I saw was like 2016 or something like that, 17 or whatever it be. It was at Google. It's like a Lexus, and it had like a big dome on top. It was
Yeah.
like spinning and everything.
It
And
had an
so,
actual radar dome up top, yes.
yeah, this is before Waymo. It's
Yeah, which was
well
ludicrous to
and
me.
everything, right? So like this is that. Um, with the Humane pen, I think that they're either going to crush it or it's going to scale down. The consumer has the power of both. Anything. So the consumer is either going to adopt it, which their marketing so far, in my opinion, has been remarkable. Anything. You don't talk about, huh?
I have not been a fan of their marketing, but maybe I'm not I'm not their target. Might be the thing.
Yeah, because you don't. For my opinion, you don't talk about what it does and everything. You talked about why it does it and why it
Right,
matters to
but
you.
I just think I compare this to like how Apple launched the iPod, right, which was a category definition thing you carried in your pocket.
1,000 songs in a pocket.
Yeah, like that's what it
Yeah,
does, right? 1,000. Wow,
right.
I want that. What does Humane do? I know, man, but it's yellow. Like,
Yeah,
come on, man.
yeah. I think this is going to be interesting because I think no matter what, you know, the success of this for the industry is going to advance, and the advancement is the thing that we thought we was going to be figured out sooner than later, which is hardware plus software, underneath the umbrella of AI. And that's the thing what we just heard is like been ridiculously difficult.
It
Like
is.
we thought.
I
We thought it was gonna be figured out, but yeah.
My money is still on this. My money is still we're gonna because I look at my office at how over. I mean, I'm old, right? Not Alberto old, but I'm old. And I can remember when most of the stuff that now sits on my computer, my calendar, my agenda, my mailbox, my fax machine, my design suite, everything was all a physical thing you had on your desk somewhere. And now it
Hmm.
all basically sits there, and it's also all here if I'm prepared to put up with how crappy the UX is for most of my software here. And my
Hmm.
also my phone is terrifyingly filthy. Don't have children. So the uh, here, this is what we've just this little glass box of misery is where we've decided to put everything in our head, right? And we went from you carry around your Walkman, and you had your book, and you had whatever 8 things you carried with you to entertain you through the day. Now it's
Yeah.
just this. I feel
Right.
like you look at the power of the new Pixel phone or the power of the new S23 that's coming, like whatever the Fold, all these the processing power on these is tremendous, and we already have one, right?
Hmm.
It's a software unlock to add all the features that Humane already is trying to make me buy a separate piece of hardware for. And that's the thing I'm really skeptical about. Is I think some of the things they showed were cool, even though I'm not really sure what it's for. But I don't see how any of it can't be done with a phone, and that's my big
Okay.
question.
So here's my opinion.
Yeah,
Here thing.
please.
The humane thing. I think the misstep they're already doing there is going to replace this. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be this.
Fair enough.
It's going to become an accessory of with the combination of this
Gotcha.
and everything. It's not going to replace it and everything. It's going to become the combination of this and everything. We can combine these two things, like the Google Glass and everything. Then we're in a beautiful space and everything. Because of like no matter what and everything, that thing still needs memory, battery, clarity, all these different things and everything. And so now you combine those two, because even if you're going to back to the why of like why I'm acquiring this and everything, the why can just be going back to the old Facebook days of just sharing experiences. Everything. I might just want to use to share experience and everything. So if I'm just sharing my experiences as I'm traveling, hiking, biking, everything, there's no reason for this to replace that. Everything. We saw this also too with the Alexa, and we saw this also too, with the, you know, Siri and all those things like that. It's the build on top of and everything. So I think when you get into the area of replacing, I think that's more human ego versus advancement,
Okay.
and stuff. And so, and he's a former Apple individual, right? The founder.
I
I mean,
think.
I can think of two items that I'm reminded of with this Humane's AI thing. One is the Google Glass, and the other is
Hmm.
the Snapchat
The snap
glasses.
glasses. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and ultimately both flops, right? Commercially and I think even technologically. But as 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 you as far because so far, I mean, right now everybody's okay with publishing their lives, but it seems a little extra intrusive for it to be on you all the time. And the thing is, currently with the phone, you publish what you want. It's it's about you. But when you're publishing everything around you, people tend to feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, is this
Glass
not?
holes, right?
Yeah, yeah, because it's looking out, not in.
I mean,
And I
we
think that tends to be more difficult for people to accept in the market.
Yeah.
I would say yes and no, because this is a publishing device, but also a recording
Yeah.
device.
Right.
Guys, it's still not a coincidence that I'm gonna start talking about toilet paper and stuff. Then I'm gonna see toilet paper on Amazon, their thing, and ads and things like that.
Yeah.
So this is recorded device. There's ways to turn it off and stuff, what it may be. The consumer doesn't care much about that as they pretend they do. And so
That's true.
if that's the case, everything Meta would have been closed down quite some time
Oh
ago.
yeah.
And everything, and so we don't care about it as much as we think we do. I think we should. I think there's ways to build on top of with a combination of like privacy, ethics, and things like that. But when you start to kind of put the human emotion back into it, we start to kind of like trend back to like what's comfortable, what we like, what we want experiences. Oh, wait, so you can say I can find a girlfriend or across the country? Oh, this is awesome. And everything. Yes, I'll put in my data, things like that. And so yeah, we go back to that human connection and stuff, if you will. That kind of typically trumps over the data privacy ethics and stuff and things. That can be fortunately and unfortunately.
And I can remember, again, because I'm old, when it was considered super rude to look on your phone when you were out with people. Where when
Mm.
you'd hang out with your friends, if you pulled out your phone, everyone would give you grief immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, I mean, my kids aren't old enough yet where they are going out with friends, but I see a pack of like a wild roving feral pack of teenagers all together, and they all have their phones out, just as they're hanging out, and I'm like, and I feel like an old man. I'm like, well, when I was your age, we had each other and we were grateful. So I do
That's
think something that
awesome.
we haven't touched on yet, though, right? We're talking about all these big potentials, all these big things, opinions about different AI. If we're looking at different industries, right, I think we start to see some boundaries form with legal tech, HR tech, and privacy in general, right? Where AI starts to bump up into existing regulation. There's the new AI executive order that comes out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're rapidly crashing into this space where the panopticon that we have built for people has been limited because there's not enough brain power to extract every last bit of juice out of this self-made person. And now, like, with AI, suddenly it starts to get there. How do we navigate as people, founders who are building or people who are using safety, regulations, privacy, but also AI building a new frontier? It's the wild, wild west. Let's go crazy.
Um, if let me jump into the. You're absolutely right, and right now we're struggling with every portion of those things in the legal realm. We Marlon and I were talking about this recently. It's we don't even know what this means for copyright, for
Yeah.
trademarks, for patents, because I mean it's still going through the courts, right? Right now, so far, a few decisions, a few seminal decisions in the legal space have been decided, right? Have been made um, about AI. For example, you can't copyright something that's AI generated because you're not the author, right? But that's still, can you copyright your prompts?
And how do you know it was
And that
AI
hasn't been
generated?
decided yet.
Like, how do you
Well, you're supposed to
prove
be
AI
honest.
made it? Because,
Well, you're supposed to be honest, right?
yeah, well, none of the AI
Yeah,
detection tools I know of, if you put the least bit of effort into engineering your prompt, none of the AI detection tools I know of catch AI copywriting very well. So
right.
it's like, how do you know if AI made it? Oh, I don't know. So,
Right. Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. But I mean, presuming you know truthfulness and these are when you're when you're submitting your copyright application, you're supposed to swear under oath and all of the above. So
but you can trademark something that you didn't make, right? Like
oh,
a
absolutely.
logo,
Trademarks,
a
yes.
logo I
Well,
can trademark even if my designer made it. But can I trademark it if an AI made the logo? Do
yes,
we know?
absolutely.
Ah, okay.
Because the difference between copyrights and trademarks, that trademark, the rights to a trademark emanate not from your registration, not from you having created it. Your rights to a trademark emanate from your actual use in commerce.
Ah, okay.
So, for example, if you stop using a trademark in commerce, you lose that trademark. Or if your
Mm.
trademark stops to be associated with you lose your rights to the trademark. On the other hand, you start doing something and you market with something, a service, service or trademark, but and it becomes associated with what you produce or the services that you provide, and you gain rights to that trademark regardless of whether or not you've registered it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's different.
So,
The,
but
the
we don't
rights
know about
emanate from different
copyright. We
places.
don't know about fair use. We don't know if somebody generates something with AI and I use AI to generate an exact copy knowingly or like it's all blurred. It's not like my camera. Um, so, but let me ask you, Marlon, right? How do you, as a founder, as a builder, as a user, by navigating through privacy, through regulations and healthcare and legal and SaaS, like whatever. What do you recommend to people right now? Because everybody's building in a world where AI is happening, right? What do I do to build intelligently given the environment we're all in?
I'm gonna give two answers. I'm gonna give my personal answer, and I'm gonna give my consultant answer.
Ah, good.
My personal answer is I'm a software engineer. I'm trained to build, destroy, and then ask for permission later. I'm sorry, or apologize later and everything. Like, oh, we can't do that. Okay, cool. Everything, and you
My
kind of revamp.
bad.
But also too, that's the definition in some ways and everything of what we've done and stuff as Americans. We build the car and then think about the seatbelt later. And so and then on the consulting side, it varies industry to industry, and everything. And so like the conversation of such and the parameters of such and everything is why Alberto's still gonna be in business for quite some time. Everything because we're gonna like really kind of still slow walk this and stuff in certain areas. But my communication to a client who is trying to build like a whole a is trying to build like a general solution for trading Pokemon cards versus a legal professional or health professional is two totally different answers because now in those type of areas the probability of the response and for the health has to be very 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 high and everything versus like the Pokemon person that is going to be more like creative and everything or thought provoking stuff we may be and so with that you kind of go two different areas on the approaches.
Okay.
Mm.
I kind of like that. I think the intelligent consultant answer is I don't know, pay me more and I'll tell you. But
Yeah.
but absent that, I like the right be exercise some caution, but there's room for exploration until we're told there's not.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Well,
Mm.
it's sort of the same thing. I mean, should OpenAI, which this is still up for grabs in the courts, um, should OpenAI be profiting from what it has learned from? Because it's learned from a ton of copyrighted works, and here we are asking it things, and OpenAI is raking in the profit. Um, should the copyright holders,
Should
uh,
Google?
well, that went all the way up into the Supreme Court as well, and
But
that was
why? But
decided.
why is GPT pick your number any different than Google? That's my problem.
Well,
Likewise,
you
when
got to
folks are
remember
like,
that in you got to
you
remember.
can't use AI generated art because it learned from my art, and I'm like, yeah, but how do you think every student learned art ever?
Well, does it fall under fair use? That's a question that hasn't been decided. But you got to
Right.
remember that, for example, with the case with Google and news snippets that it was
Yep.
showing in its well, in Europe the law fell in one direction, and in the U.S. it
Yep.
fell a different direction. So there is no clear answer, and it may fall under fair use in the U.S. and in in the EU, they may consider that the authors have stronger rights to their 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 publications or their works, and um, and therefore OpenAI must pay them or something, or the what comes out must be.
Yeah.
Nobody knows because it hasn't been decided.
But the internet's flat, and trying to say, hey, this part of the internet is balkanized away and has different access to
Yeah.
OpenAI's tools than this site is. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had a VPN for a decade, right? I can be from wherever I want to be. And
Mm.
speaking as somebody who, I mean, shh, right? But I still have a U.S. investment account that I have money I parked in years and years ago. If I log in to see how things are doing, I better connect from my U.S. IP address and not from my Canadian one, right? Because otherwise they get shirty with you. So
Like. Mm.
the the law can legislate. Users will still find a way to do what they want to do. They're looking for the dopamine, right? Or a way to slack off from work and have something automate away the boring part of their job or whatever. So
Yeah, we also see that too with like the Drake AI song.
yeah,
Everything immediately the Drake AI song it was on track to do like a couple million streams. In the first couple of days, Universal said, "Hey, wait a minute, take this down," and everything. Which they did. Took it down from Spotify and other
yeah,
platforms. Guess what the users did? Re-uploaded it.
that's correct.
Said, we like the song.
I thought it was a good
We
song.
don't care what you're doing. This is a catchy song. We like it and everything. We also like to hear Drake. We like to hear The Weeknd and everything. And they consistently, kept re-uploading to the point where YouTube was just like, all right, whatever, let it be.
I give up.
The question is, who
Right.
can monetize it? Can Drake monetize on it? Can YouTube or should YouTube
So that
monetize
does get
on it?
interesting.
That's what matters, right?
The
Here's a prediction.
yeah.
We're going to live in a world where the Drakes and stuff, whatever it may be. We're gonna live in a world where Drake, for a set of percentage, will say, "Yes, you can use my likeness and everything, so to create songs." And then it will be like a 50%, 75, 25, whatever it may be, and everything agreement on the royalties and everything. That song goes to number one and everything. Drake still has license access and everything to it. He can do whatever he wants with it and everything, but the creator would also kind of get a piece of it and everything. I would, if I'm Spotify, Apple, Tidal, whatever it may be, I'll be rushing towards being the first platform to invent that. If not, a startup will come in and get a piece of their revenue share too as well.
Well, that was what the whole SAG after strike was about, right? Is all
Mm-hmm.
the
Right.
actors being like, "Hey, I was an extra in that one movie once. You can't use a CGI me for forever now."
Mm-hmm.
But more to that is the fact that even if that's what ends up happening, that's a business case. In order for that to happen, that means that the copyright holder has a copyright, an enforceable copyright to say you can't use it unless you pay me 50% or
Yeah.
75% or 25%, whatever of your creation. So he first has to have the copyright or the ability to exclude others from that intellectual property, and then be able to say, okay, I'll let you use it for this much royalty or this thing.
But we're also going to
Um,
very quickly reach the point where people can already do face swaps powered by a Raspberry Pi running at 30 frames a second to replace people's faces in videos. We're going to reach the point where fans are releasing, Elvis Costello raps Gangster's Paradise, or
right.
whoever, right? Actual Elvis raps Gangster Paradise, whatever. And the inability to police that because it's user generated content is going to be a problem unless we start to train hostile AIs to act against the AI generation, which will then make anti-hostile AIs, and then we'll make it'll be a whole thing.
I mean, like everything,
Here's
in especially whatever.
sorry about that. But if there's money in it, they will build a way to enforce it,
Yeah, of course.
right? That they'll build these things, and if you're Drake and you want your 25, 50, 75%, whatever, or simply say no, I don't want people to use it, and it means that you will rake in a lot of money. These things will come up,
Yeah.
just like they've done them to you, with YouTube and all these things. So sorry about that, Marlon. Go ahead.
No, no, you get everything. I mean, this is the beautiful world of innovation. These things stuff will happen because the consumer has already showed the demand that they want it to happen. Everything now, the creator or startups or whatever it may be, is going to find a way how to build a marketplace and stuff around it. Everything which makes more money and stuff for anybody. Here's the area and everything that we need to start thinking about too as well. In the next 18 months, you're going to see a lot of acquisitions of blockchain companies. Because like how do everything around royalties around the industry who's probably not to have a good liking of sharing, the proper royalties and everything as much as they should be in stuff in the area. Okay, now how do you wipe that out? How you do build transparency, technology wise and everything? The only aspect that I know of right now we can do this is blockchain and everything. And so now, do you have a new record label type of thing? This it's like, hey, we're going to partner and everything creator with Rihanna. We're going to partner creator with Drake and so on, so on, so on. The royalty contract will be written in a smart contract, will be in a blockchain, insertion, somewhere. and everything, and then from there it'll automatically be generated and sent out, and there is no legal case to it from there once it's been agreed to, and we move on.
Maybe.
Now that's creation. And that's great, creativity. Now that's marketplace. Now that's free flowing and everything. Now the thing I need to focus on is the ability to create everything and just generate things as I want to. I just been through a bad weekend experience and everything. Just work with my girlfriend. I'm about to ask Drake AI, can I create a song or so about it? 2 weeks later, it's number one in the top charts, and all of a sudden I'm a millionaire. There we go.
Interesting. I like it. So I think that brings us to kind of the last thing I wanted to run through today with you, Marlon. Some predictions for 2024 and beyond. We've touched on a bunch of them so far, but you're an AI expert. I'm going to ask you to put on your futurist hat. You've been talking about 18 months. A bunch of stuff's going to change. Give me a few specific ideas what you think might look different.
Yeah, in 2024, we're definitely going to start to see. I mean, we're still in this area of like integration. We're still building this thing. So whatever the stock market figure out what it wants to do and everything, we're going to see a explosion of job opportunities and everything. And, some of those job opportunities will stay, some will be kind of wiped out. Things like that. This assistant thing is going to be the big one. Everything. So for the startup, for the everyday profession, as we're gonna live in a world, like I said, you're gonna have an AI assistant in everything you do. Alberto, you're gonna have an AI assistant that can help you write your emails and things like that and everything. But also too, hopefully, you also will have the ability to license out, subscribe $10 a month, $20 a month, enter your own AI assistant for individuals like me who ask problems, questions, and things stuff we want to think through, and everything based off your past information, your past data with the combination of a large language model like GPT-4, Llama, whatever it may be. That also too will translate into the workforce, meaning a solutions architect and everything will have the ability to create their own, AI system that help them code, think through, build, create documents stuff as well. Here's where things get very interesting with that. That solution architect also too would have the ability to take their own AI assistant to job to job to job to job. That's essentially their data. They're getting access and everything from it. Everything. Here's why it's interesting in the ability to do so for the enterprise side too as well. Now the solution architect can now have an API call to their past employer. If the past employer say like, "Oh man, what do we do about that project? How do we build that?" I'm now going to go subscribe to Larry's API, AI
Interesting.
API, to retrieve that information, everything what they built and everything 16 months ago.
Interesting. That's an unusual idea. I hadn't thought of that. I like it.
So with that, this is where we're going. You know what I mean? So the individuals who are thinking about this and everything, they're figuring out ways how to call it license, call it build, call it store their data. You know, it's also too why I said in the next 18 months you're gonna see a lot of acquisition around blockchain too as well. With that, from every element, from art to, images to, just simply just text, music, whatever it may be.
That's interesting. One of the things I've been in the Web3 space for quite a while, but blockchain has always seemed to me a solution in search of a good problem, and this may finally the AI revolution brings the right problem to the table. I like that. That is,
Because going back to Alberto, how do you prove you're one of the first people who kind of create this?
yeah,
Now you have threads. Now you have this retrieval documentation and everything, and now also too that sits in a node in somebody's blockchain. Yeah, here you go, Judge. This is how I prove I'm the first one. By the way, I think got Google did an infringement on my aspect. I want a piece of the pie.
Well, what is blockchain? Blockchain is nothing more than a way to keep track of ownership. And if you've got the rights and you want to sell them or lease them or whatever it is, which is what this is, or capture some of those royalties, blockchain is a wonderful way to do that. Absolutely. But that but you first of all you first have to have those rights, and right, and then there has to be the interface for it to occur seamlessly, easily. Because one of the other things with blockchain is it hasn't been user friendly, and it still isn't. The vast majority of people don't use even Bitcoin, the most used blockchain, is used by barely any people in the real world.
Hmm.
So what you're saying absolutely true. Mindful of these other things that have to happen before it, before
Yeah, definitely.
Drake goes out and says, yeah, you can use my catalog to train your AI to make your great song if you give me 25% of the proceeds.
I will also be clipping this as a "I told you so" moment when it happens. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So, Marlon, I really appreciate you making the time to come on the show today. As always, Alberto, appreciate having your viewpoint and analysis on some of the legal and copyright issues that we get into here. If anybody goes, hey, I love what Marlon has to say, I'd love to find out more about him, how do I go look you up, Marlon?
Yeah, I am Marlon Avery on most platforms. You just also reach out to me at marlonavery.com. Anything. If you want quick access to me and everything, LinkedIn is probably one of the best tools. You can shoot me a DM, everything. We can have phenomenal conversations, everything from consulting, building, integrating, everything from your startups, to the enterprise level. By the way, too, I'm a software engineer. I don't know if I remember. I don't remember if
You mentioned
I
it.
said that
That's your
earlier.
background. You wrote code. Got your
Yeah.
hands dirty in the grease machines of writing code.
Yep. I still got the biting nails to prove it as well. Mhm.
I wrote PHP about 15 years ago and quickly discovered that was not for me. Yeah. Yeah. I used to
To
work with
this day,
WordPress
no.
1.8. So, back in the day, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm old. You can't see all the wrinkles. The camera obscures them. Alrighty. And if you're interested in learning more about how to grow your startup, how to raise funds for your startup, how to work with a team of seasoned and salty old experts who have done the legal side, the marketing side, the HR side, Thomas is sadly missing today, and the finance side with Kim, go look up Raise2Launch.com. We're here to help you. Thanks, everybody, for participating and everybody who watched. I hope you all have an excellent day.
Thank you.